Gauteng province has created a relief for the benefit of individuals within the sports and arts sector. This is out of the realization that sports and arts continue to be one of the sectors that is hardest hit by the COVID pandemic. And in this regard, as a caring government, we have found means of how we can create some form of relief for individuals within the sectors, but also possible job opportunities. And in this regard, one of the things that we have done with all the national events or national day events that we do have, we've made them virtual and are still able to employ and work with various artists and sports individuals. And this has been done from our Human Rights Day, our Freedom Day, and now with Youth Month. We continue to integrate artists and sports individuals within, so that whilst COVID does not allow for major events to take place, by going virtual, it enables us to still be able to utilize these skills and showcase the talent that the province has. With regard to the Gauteng Relief Fund that is created for individuals within the sports and arts sectors, this is a relief fund of 28 million, which we seek to find individuals who work within our communities. These may be individuals who teach art classes within communities, who coach soccer teams within communities, netball teams and so forth across the various sporting codes. These are the individuals who play a critical role in the development of our communities. These are people who ensure that our communities keep fit and, more importantly, are engaged within positive recreational activities. Our fund is geared at all these people, and all we ask is that you come and apply, visit our website, visit our social media pages at Gauteng SACR, that's at Gauteng SACR, and you'll be able to get more information. We really want to make sure that we assist these individuals because we appreciate the work that they do in our communities, because it is in line with what government seeks to do, and we want to make sure that people continue being engaged within positive activities such as recreation, within arts, within our sports and so forth. So please do apply. This fund is for you.
You know when they talk about someone who takes you from zero to a hero? That's my Melissa. My shield from all harms of this earth. The one who would take me out into public spaces regardless of my imperfect English and still protect me. The dark times came when our tree of love stopped bearing fruits. Nothing beats the pain of watching the love of your life slip away slowly. It's like a bad dream that has no ending. I convinced myself Gauteng yindoda, but the little boy from the bundus inside was screaming in pain. And ungizwe kahle baba, don't get me wrong, I made that little boy suffer by depriving him the opportunity to heal from it all. I was the one who was closed off, Baba. Begungimi, I was the one who had that disconnection, but Ihena, she taught me there's nothing wrong with being vulnerable. Bro, the worst thing you could do is not allow yourself to feel, especially as a man. Gone are those days hearing our forefathers saying, Indo Daikar.
Yeah, Spanish.
Bro, I'm beg. It's okay to cry.
Yeah, I hear you, but it's just that sometimes it just gets so painful and then...
Fana Mamela. It's painful, I know. But your cursing and cursing won't reverse the situation. All I'm saying is, boys have feelings too. It's okay to just let it all out.
Yeah, Spanish. Tagas lam.
Sabi esikhulume ke sibani.
Sure.
I'm an urban artist who's inspired by my city. I'm not going to lie and say I come from a disadvantaged background, but I have traveled to major cities of the world like New York and London, where I was exposed to different cultures, music, fashion and style. I went to an all-boys school, and to show yourself as an alpha male, you always had to have the best clothes. And because of the fashion insights that I gained from traveling, I was able to identify upcoming trends that people were selling for cheap in the inner city of Joburg. I started buying and selling caps, fake watches, chains and shoes to all the kids at school, and that's when I became the plug. By the time I matriculated, I was known for making the latest fashions available to everyone. Today I use these fashions to start photo shoots for niche and popular brands right here in my city. My name is Latalmo Tate, Staba LTs, and I'm an urban artist.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for our Youth Month Masterclass. We are here because the Gauteng Film Commission, the National Film and Video Foundation, Film and Publication Board, and the Department of Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation were kind enough to sponsor this amazing live stream. The Department of Sport, Art, Culture and Recreation has developed a relief fund in response to COVID-19. This fund is aimed at assisting sports, arts, culture and creative sectors. Please visit the gautengfilmcommission.org.za for application details. Please note that these applications close on the 26th of June, 2020. So we are joined here today with some amazing creative people. We've got Letabo Motlatle, who is a fashion stylist. We've got Faisal Meyer, who is a DOP and director. And we've got Deepak Lamandla, who is a director as well. Hey guys.
Hey, how are you, Tiggs?
Hey, what's up?
I'm good, thanks. My name is Teglin. I'm a stylist, a producer, and an art director, and have been in the industry for 15 years. It's an honor to be with you guys and chat to you about cosmetology, about art direction, about fashion, about styling, about production design. So just to kind of get the ball rolling, I just want to know, we'll start with Faye. You can tell us where you started and how you became a DOP and a director.
Hey everyone, my name is Faisal Meyer. I'm just a young guy, bit of a character. I'm from the south of Johannesburg, from a little town called Enadale. I started out as a filmmaker. It was actually very weird. I used to just assist on a lot of sets. I was very confused as to like what I wanted to do in terms of department and where it's gonna go, and dealing with the whole pressure, being in the industry or film is not a real career. And I'm one that always pushes the boundaries. So it was more of a story of convincing a family, because I'm actually first generation when it comes to filmmaking in the family. So being first generation is a lot more tougher because you've got a lot to prove, especially when it comes to sustainability and like future proofing and making sure that your career will actually bring you your bread and butter at the end of the day. So I come from a place where there's really rich stories, and I love knowing what happens all around me. So I always have my ears to the street when it comes to content, especially where I'm from. So I think I got into filmmaking mainly because I feel like as an African filmmaker, there's a sort of responsibility that needs to be carried across in the near future and in the foreseeable future. And I just like to create and tell proper African stories and create a very interesting dialogue. Cool, thank you.
Thanks for that, Faith. Letaba, tell us how you started, where this inspiration of becoming a fashion stylist, started for you, how long you've been doing it for, that kind of thing.
Thank you for that. Hi, I'm Letabo. I'm 25 years old. I've been in the industry for about 4 years. I started when I was 21 on small budget series called Ngempela. That's where I got my training. I started off as an intern. It was about 52 episodes. For those that don't know, that's a very long period of time in the film world. So I started off as an intern, and by the time we were on like episode 40, that's when I got promoted from intern to assistant. And then I've been assisting since then. While I've been assisting, I've been a personal stylist to some celebrities and stuff like that. And yeah, that's about it until now. And
Very cool.
my inspiration comes from everything around me. I grew up in Alex, but I was fortunate enough to go to school with other privileged kids, so I know the best of both worlds, and I think that's my advantage in the industry, is that I know both sides of the world, and that's what gives me an advantage. Not everything is about price. It's about real people and what they were like. For example, what I do is we focus mainly on clothes, so I know what the average Joe wears, and also know what the Santon person wears and stuff like that. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks for that, Tabo. Zipo, tell us, where you started. You're an amazing director. I've worked with you some. I've, seen your process. Where did you start?
Thank you so much, Tiggs. What's up, guys? My name is Zipo Dlangamandla. My story is a bit of a weird story here, because initially I like to say that I was much of a confusing kid growing up. At some point, my folks thought, I'd be like a musician because I play the piano and I'm interested in music. And then at some point, I swapped around and I got interested in theater. And then eventually I went to go study film and film school at TUT. And then while busy with film school, the theater bug came back, and I went back to do theater again for like a year. And then while I was busy with theater, film kept on calling my name again. And eventually I decided that, film is my direction. And just how I got into the industry is quite crazy. Or how I got to become a director. I think with me, I've always known that storytelling is a thing, kind of similar to Letsabo's stories, that being exposed to not only just the upside of life, but also, being able to go to the farms, and just chill around the fire with your grand and just hear those stories. I was always really enticed by that and how she would tell stories and stories that I'd hear from my mom and other people. I've always been someone who's curious about different stories, because I feel like you learn so much from stories. And then with just the passion of stories, I think that's when I discovered that I love telling stories. And there are certain stories that I would want to tell, especially for people who we don't really hear much from, giving a voice for people that are not really heard that much. And then came 2017, I started as a freelance, as a production assistant, worked my way up to being a second AD, first AD, and then eventually Bioscope Films picked me up. And yeah, it's been an awesome journey ever since.
Okay, very cool. So by the sounds of most of your stories, what's interesting is that everybody started as an assistant, and you started in a space where you were essentially there to learn, and whether you went to university or whether it was just, I'm on this film set, I'm going to be a sponge, I'm going to soak up as much as I can. It's not about how much money I'm going to make out of this, but it's about where I see myself in 5 or 10 years' time. Your story, Zipo, is a little bit more fast-tracked, that's quick, from 2017 to 2020 as a director. That's amazing. I know, so both Faze and Zipo, you guys have both been part of my project that I work with on Boca, where you submit a treatment and, we help you make these films. They're very short. But what was intriguing is that both your stories were beautiful. You had really put thought into the hair, the makeup, the wardrobe, everything to tell the story. So Faze, I remember you had the most amazing location with yours. It was out in the middle of the bush, and your makeup was incredible. That was part of that story. Is this a discussion you had with your makeup artist, or was this like your idea and it was just execution from their side?
So in terms of the makeup for that fashion film, we kind of wanted to complement the design of the outfits. I'm sure you've heard about Unknown Union, so I do a lot of work with them, and we're very close, and it's a family business. So I got some really cool designs made, especially just for the film, and we wanted to go for makeup that actually complements and not contrasts, because the kind of location we had was raw, the talent we had was raw, so it was kind of all interlinked in terms of how we put everything together. So I hope that answers the question, because I'm not very big on makeup. It was just a decision that we made that kind of amplified what we were doing.
No, it totally answers the question. Let's talk about, how do you feel when you style something? Do you take a lot of direction? Do you chat to your hairstylist and your makeup artist? You know, do you build the whole look together, or are you usually the driving force? How do you, so if Faisal was to come to you and ask you to do the styling for that?
So as of now, like lately, I've been getting briefs. Also, by the way, I am a second generation in the film industry. My mom's actually a makeup artist, so I grew up around all that stuff, you know. So I know makeup is very vital. It is as important as styling and your storytelling and everything else, you know. So I look at makeup the same as styling. The makeup artist is always there. I do ask for advice at home if, you know, this is good or bad, or yeah, but it's a decision we all make in the team at the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. See, for your fashion film, Boys Have Feelings Too, we chatted about this off screen earlier. You brought in a lot of euphoria into, you know, the HBO series, which is amazing because it happened kind of unintentionally. Is that correct?
Yeah, it happened quite unintentionally. So, you know, for me, honestly, like when it comes to how not only how we built the characters, but also how we styled the characters. For me, the biggest thing was not only using like camera and lights to tell the story, but I felt like we could bring forward the story with the wardrobe choices and the choice of makeup as well. You know, if I, from the top of my head, if you look at the female character, she's wearing a leopard print, and the leopard print is a print that is usually considered as a traditional print, especially amongst the Zulu people. And seeing that she was actually going out with a black guy who was already wearing his partner, sorry, and just how she wore that leopard print kind of shows the influence that this guy had on her. You know what I mean? So instead of a traditional Zulu leopard print vest, you know, with her it was like a nice top, which is a bit more modern, which I really think was quite interesting. You know, finding different ways of how we could explore telling the story using wardrobe and makeup as well.
How involved are you as the director with the stylist and the makeup artist? Did you drive them? Did they come to you and say to you, like, you know, this is what we feel and how we want to portray this character?
So how I usually work is, you know, I usually just give like when I give briefs, I leave room for the stylist to explore and have fun. You know, I'd rather have to pull the stylist back to what it is that I want rather than having to push them to a certain direction. You know, so it's quite nice when you leave some room to see what the stylist can do, because I feel when you do it like that, not only are you just building relationships for the sake of what it is that you're working for, but also from a personal perspective, because you get to understand each other as an artist, you know, and seeing that you'll be working together for quite some time, I think it's very imperative to have that connection with somebody that you'll be working with. So to answer your question, I just give space for people to play, because I mean, it is a form of expression after all, you know, and then we'll find our direction together and then come together and then work towards the same cause.
Okay. Faith, do you feel the same way?
Yes, I do. So usually I'll just especially like with writing, because for when we do produce work, I write as well. So I like what Zipo is saying. It's very important to leave room for the rest of your crew, because at the end of the day, it is an expression, and it's a collaborative work. So at the end of the day, you want to get everybody's best performance, because how else do you get everybody's best performance if you have already done their job? So it's cool to come together as, as a unit, and use methods of like critical thinking, you know what I mean, and come up with cool ways of like problem solving. So it's really important to just leave room, but also know what you want. But sometimes you could find that your makeup artist or whoever is on your crew comes up with a better idea than you. So always just be open, and I think that's the best way to go if you want to create something that stands out.
What do you guys think are potentially your biggest challenges? Like when you just started, I started my first film, I was 19 years old and was chucked in the deep end because our wardrobe mistress was sick. She was off site for 3 months, and I ran a 200 extra full-on feature film at the age of 19, first job, and like ran around like this most of the time. So like, what are you guys are a little bit more contemporary than I am, but what would be your biggest challenge you find like going in and starting in this industry?
So can I go first?
Yeah,
my challenge, and I understand, I'm just getting used to it, is time. So I shoot a lot of like commercials, like back to back and stuff like that, and it's that like we just like usually just have a week to source and prep, and for like 100+ people sometimes. So, but luckily we do have fittings, but time management is like a bit of an issue from my side, but like so far so good. Like the show must go on, So yeah, that's that.
When you say, when you say time management, do you mean your own time management, or do you mean trying to put it all together within the right amount of time?
Definitely not my time management. Is things change, brief change, like a brief can like change, like day before or like on the day, and like usually a story can become better if a lot of prep is put into it. Like sometimes like I'll be like, oh man, I wish like I got that red shirt, a darker red would have been better than a lighter red, or like a specific earring. Or sometimes the shops don't even have what the director's looking for, and you kind of like have to get something close to that. And then tomorrow when you're out in the stores, like after the shoot, you see what you were looking for, that type of thing, But yeah, it's not like the end of the world. It's just like I wish.
So one of your big things you say is hindsight is 2020, which is how it always is. You find that perfect shirt the day after your shoot. Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah. So that's that. That's for me. That's my biggest challenge, rather.
Cool. Zipo, do you want to give us your challenges? Starting out, if you could impart one specific bit of knowledge onto, say, a protege, what would that be in terms of a challenge?
I think for me, my biggest challenge was, when you're starting out, just to be given that chance to be heard, especially as a young director. It's really, really not an easy thing. But like how I was able to overcome that is just believing in yourself and sticking to what it is that you know, and showing that you're willing to learn, honestly, and just working really hard. Because it's one thing if you say that you want to do something, but you don't show that you're actually willing to do it. And yeah, for me that was like the biggest thing. It's just to be heard, really. It's like you had to fight. Well, I felt like at some point I had to fight to be heard, and I think once I put my foot down to say, yo, this is me and I've got something to say, I think that's when, things kind of started to shift a bit, you see, to say, okay, this young kid on the block has something to say, let's hear him out, instead of giving him that 100 Rand to shoot something, let's actually bump it up to like a 1K type of thing, So I guess it's just sticking to your guns, man, and just showing that you really, really in it to win it, really. That's what it is.
Okay, that's a nice thing to walk away with, sticking to your guns, because it's not something we always do when we're young and eager and want. Faze, what are your biggest challenges? Sorry, what you were saying?
I was just wanting to add on to what you're saying, especially being a director as well. You know, you need to stick to your guns, because what usually happens is that, well, this happens to me sometimes, that you would think of something and you plan something and you want to execute something, right? And then it's so easy to be swayed in a different direction by what you watch, who you talk to, and other people's opinions. You know, and if you're not really that rooted in what you believe in, you know, your vision can be just messed up and actually have no direction as a director, I think. So it's very, very important to stand your ground.
Faze, you looked like you had something to say there.
No, I was just looking
talking.
for to finish up, but yeah, I feel like I've met Zippo before, because like the points that he's hitting is exactly the same. Especially being young in this industry, it's very difficult to get your voice heard in a room where there's a lot of big guns in the room, and everybody's like, hey, who's this new kid? Nobody wants to listen up until you're like, hey man, like this is what I can do, and you show them the work. But sometimes I feel the hardest thing for me is just to get my point across. I know a lot of filmmakers usually go the aggressive route. I don't think it's ideal to be aggressive when it comes to this kind of work, and just being all over the place. I think the biggest challenge for me is having the ability to create without how can I say, without letting things just blow out into proportion. And I mean, like, when I say that, I just mean being the same person offset than I am on set. I know a lot of people like change personality because we usually do work with personalities, a lot of personalities on set. So I stick to my guns and I just remain the same person I am. So I know a lot of people have personalities when they're working on set. Some are strict, some directors are strict, some directors are soft. I just feel like with the world we live in, you get better results by treating your crew and treating your colleagues a certain way. I'm sure you know about the world of work and how that is evolving, but just having that common ground with people and getting them to understand the kind of director I am and how I work is usually difficult, because I'm not the kind of person to be the loudest in the room. I just love creating. So I'm more of like a show, not tell kind of person. And with the working process, I feel like because everything is visual in cinema, especially with us being on this continent in Africa, I feel like there's a lot of richness. African cinema is rich, believe it or not. The whole African diaspora in every single country, we've impacted to the way in which their films get made. There's a lot of movements that have been started in different countries. Oh, sorry, I just go way overboard, but my point is.
You're moving on to my next sort of the direction I want to move into this, because Africa is interesting because we instead of setting trends, we like to follow them. Not I think because we don't trust ourselves, just because I think our industry is this big, and you look at Hollywood, and Hollywood is like not even to mention Bollywood. So kind of touching on exploitation in a way, but also just looking at Africa and looking at some of the problems we faced here. You get given $1 million budget, which sounds like a lot of money, but it isn't really. You do have to call in some favors, and here and there you've got a production assistant, a third or a fourth that you're not potentially paying as much as you could. But it is exposure. So I just, from that point of view, I just wanted to hear how you guys felt about that in terms of a local industry that has a lot of international input, but also, what we as Africans have to offer.
Can I start?
Yeah, go, please.
So what I think what I think Africa as a continent it needs to realize is that we're not the Americas, we're not the Europes. We sure as hell won't be achieving their kind of accolades because our industry is quite young, believe it or not. But what we need to realize as Africans is that there's a specific authenticity, there's a specific reality, and there's a specific craziness to our filmmaking methods. And what people need to realize, especially in our country, is that there's no Bible for how films should get made in this country. We're not Hollywood, but Hollywood has their own Bible. And in this country, we need to realize that we work differently. There's a specific kind of love and care that African cinema possesses. There's a certain way it looks, there's a certain way it makes you feel. It's just real. So I feel like as filmmakers, as young individuals, as like anybody who wants to start their career, they just need to understand that we need to stay true to who we are, keep the stories, let people know, let's use our languages, let's use our locations, let's use our art, and let's use our methods of storytelling. And I feel like African cinema just has a certain kick to it, a vibrance, there's a certain energy. I'm sure Zipo and Letabo can attest. It's very original in my opinion. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Can I add on to what he said?
Yeah, please.
Different. Like he said, our industry is still young. What I can say is we are African, but we don't have a lot of African people telling our stories in our industry. So that's where the challenge comes in. We still have the majority is like you get your white DOPs, your white directors, you're telling African stories, and it actually, I think those stories are told better by African people, not just something used. Like I recently did something for Zanti Magic. Not everything, like our stuff is not on Google. We don't have like, if you look at a traditional, if you look for information on a traditional Zulu wedding, that's what we were shooting. We don't have all that information, so it's that we don't have things like that in place, and we still I feel like we still need to grow and move forward into that. But by doing that, we need to really teach young people like myself. I have the opportunity now, to also bring up other people like me, that can tell these stories and so on and so on, if we're pushing for that African narrative.
People, you look like you want to add to this. I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, the gents have both of them, they've mentioned such amazing points. And I mean, what I have to say, I think, is yes, we are still young as an industry, but I think the sooner we start trusting our narrative and the sooner we start trusting our stories, I think the better it is for everyone who's working within that industry, because we're all coming together with a so similar purpose, and yes, at some point, with me saying trusting our narrative, it also talks to going to extreme lengths for your narrative. You know what I mean? And not just waiting to get that big budget to do something. If you look at, I always make this example with Nollywood, for example. When they started out, most of their stuff didn't look that cool. Sound was always distorting, cameras was always looking weird. But just for the sake of how much they supported each other and how much they worked together, and you look at where they are now, it has literally spread so widely over the continent. You know what I mean? And then once that spread starts happening, that's when you catching the attention of other people, because now they're starting to notice that, South Africa is something different, or Africa is something different. You know what I mean? Then you start having those relations coming in. But now, with that being said, it's us sticking to our true voice as South African cinema, I think, and yes, we can explore different avenues of exploration from other continents or other countries, but I think as soon as we understand our own narrative or understanding who we are as South African cinema, I think that's when, we will be working towards the greater best direction.
100%.
And
Can I add on to that? He said,
please,
Zipo said, once we realize who we are, and it's something called an identity crisis. I feel like we often go through it, and that's not only as a country or as a continent, but also as filmmakers. Like he said, staying true to what you know. It's a good point that Letabo raised, that how can somebody from Sandton come to my hood and tell a story about people I know? You know what I mean? It's I wouldn't say it's disrespectful. I just feel like you do not know these people. You don't know the kind of hardships and problems they had growing up. And for us as filmmakers, while I'm very fortunate to be from a place where I've seen everything. I've seen the neighborhood thug. I've seen the lady that goes to church. There's so many stories. So it's more about understanding what you're saying and understanding those people, because the better you understand the psychology of your character, as Mr. Zipo said, you get to put out better results. And that's the end of my point. Thank you.
and if you look at it and you go, okay, we're a really young industry, and we've probably been around for about 50 years, whereas if you look at Hollywood and even Bollywood, that's huge. And Nollywood, as you said, people they tried, and now there's somewhere where people are sitting up and they're going, okay, we've got to pay respect here. And Bollywood, I think, has a bigger growth industry in terms of what they make than Hollywood does. But what I find interesting about our industry is that instead of applying African solutions for African problems, we apply global solutions for African problems, which don't necessarily work. I mean, one of the big things about working in Hollywood is you have to be part of a union. In South Africa, there's no union. The film industry is a little bit like the Wild West. And you can ride in on your horse and say and do what you want. It doesn't matter where you study, doesn't matter what you said, doesn't matter what you've done. Whereas in Hollywood, it's a very different kettle of fish. So just in terms of solving some of these problems that we have, like coming back to exploitation, in the States, you have something like, where as Angelina Jolie wears a Zach Posen dress, that dress will be remade in 7 million different forms because of who she is. We don't have that here. We have something else. But, I'm sure you've had people phone you and go, the exposure, that's how I'm paying you in that exposure. Unfortunately, exposure doesn't pay your rent or put food on your table. I'm sure each of you have a story where you can say that somebody has phoned and said, I'll give you that exposure, just direct my film or be my DOP or be my stylist. You end up in a situation where you're using a global payment method, essentially, which doesn't apply here because we don't have that industry. It's not there yet. So if you could think, what would be your solution to that versus, American solution, which is exposure?
Well, I can just for myself, I just want to be honest. The only form of, I did pay my dues. We've always been told to do that, just to get your foot in the door, so I did my freebies here and there, pro bonos. Sometimes a director, let's say for instance, Zipo hits me up and he's like, yo, I've got this really good idea, this and this, I want to enter this film festival, whatever. And then he ends up winning and stuff like that. How we all benefit from that is that I have that in my show reel, and that can also open doors elsewhere for me, so yeah, but you can't also just take everything in for free. I did my free work. I still do test shoots, those help, yeah, but it's I have to pay my rent all the time. So like it happens here and there, not all the time, but I won't lie to you. In the beginning, it was what I had to do, and I don't regret it at all. Yeah.
But in the beginning, I mean, you don't still get a phone call going, you know,
No.
we need you for free on this one. But you know that at some point a director has actually got a budget from somewhere.
Yeah, definitely not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think from my side, just to add on to what you were saying, Tavo, you know, you're right. At some point, you need to earn your stripes. You need to pay your dues. You know, and I think it's the psyche behind why you're doing what you're doing. You know, in some like in the beginning, yes, you know that for you to get your name out there and seeing that we are in such a show and tell industry, you need to have something to show to people. You
Absolutely.
know, and I think in the beginning, yes, it works when it comes to earning your stripes, but then also, even when let's say you're at a point where you understand that there's now budgets for stuff. For me, how it is, you know, it's just how open you are with that person, you know, and also going to the point of how you understand it. It's how that person tells it to you. You know, is it a passion project, or are you just, you know, putting roses because you want to put roses, or because you want to have me on it for some odd reason, you know? But in addition to that, what the tab was saying from my side, I think also how you understand it and what your purpose is for accepting that job. You know, there's some jobs that you when somebody comes to you and is like, yo man, listen, it's because of 1 2 3 4, I'd like you, and I might not have A B C D. Also, how does that piece of art resonate to you?
Mm.
You know, is it something that you would relate to it, or have it as a passion project? Or is it just one of those where you can actually say that no, here I'm just being exploited and I can't
Yeah.
and I can't deal with that.
Feeling.
Exactly.
Feel the
Exactly. It's right? That's what it is, man, you know, because emotion is such a big part in what we do. And I say this like not only just as a director, but as an artist. You know, we create stuff or we create things, you know, with a certain element of emotion involved. So it's just one of those things really that you need to understand in that sense from my side.
Faith, do you want to add to that?
Not that much. I do agree with both of the gents that it's about earning your stripes. I can't see our audience. I wish I could see them, but like you need to understand that whatever industry you enter, it's gonna be difficult. You could become the world's best, I don't know, makeup artist, doctor. It's difficult. There's time and hours. You need to reach your. They usually say 10,000 hours. You know, all the old school cats say 10,000 hours. So you need to reach your 10,000 hours, or you need to earn your stripes, or just do something. You know, you got to start somewhere, even if you don't have anything. And making a film is not about having the best or the biggest camera. There's cell phone shooting. There's many ways to do it, but I think the best thing to do is just to start and know what you want to achieve at the end of the day. And you just need to remember that filmmaking is not luxurious. There might be red carpets for films, and you know we're gonna go and watch our film premiere. Cool, but the process and the job title itself is not luxurious. So get ready for sleepless nights, and you know always stay hungry.
Cool. So, unless you've been living under a rock for the last 3 months, you know, we've all had experiences with COVID in the last 3 months, and we've all been in lockdown. And you know, your creative side, especially me as a stylist and producer, has suffered a little bit. How has COVID affected you guys in your industry personally? You know, if you could give a little bit of advice for somebody who's just started. You know, let's say you mentioned earlier that you come to Cape Town and you do in the season how do you think that's going to affect season this year? How has COVID affected you guys directly?
So how COVID's affected me directly is financially. Advice out there to those people: save your money, and it will help you on a rainy day. Fortunately, I am based in 2 provinces, so I took why the reason I came back here is I couldn't afford to pay rent for 3 months in a place where I'm not working. So I just decided to come back home. But luckily here I have been getting work, and during COVID, myself and my team, we were just doing briefs for fun, that's how we were staying creative, old briefs, just we would interpret them all individually in different ways, just look at that, and yeah, that's how we stayed busy during COVID.
Cool.
Yeah.
People, I know you did quite a bit of shooting during COVID. I follow you on WhatsApp stories and see what you're up to on Instagram.
For me, COVID was a bittersweet thing, especially during the lockdown. When COVID hit, I was literally prepping for this job that I'm working on right now, that Letaba and I are co-labbing on.
Cool.
It's literally, imagine this. You're like a few days from shooting, you've confirmed everyone, and you've, set everything, and then boom, you just have to drop everything. For me, that really hit me, because it's like a build up towards this towards this project that you're working on, and you've invested so much of your time, of your emotion, of you've invested so many other things, into the project, and then being told that you have to just let it go was a bit weird for me. And yes, just like it, I've also felt it financially. But also, I think the biggest thing for me was, after seeing so many people who were just trying to stay creative and trying to create more content as much as they could to keep busy, because you can get into your head quite a lot, during that time. But what I got to understand and what I got to learn is that at some days I feel guilty when I see other peers or other industry mates doing stuff and posting stuff. But I got to understand that it's okay not to create, just because you don't have all of these resources around you, or all of the things that you're usually used to having when you're creating something. You're not forced to create something because everybody else is creating something.
Yes.
It's okay to use that time just to chill, reflect on all of the things that you face, all of the things that you come from, and also plan for what the rest of the year might look like, or your future. And I think that was like the biggest thing that I took out from the lockdown, really, is just accepting that I don't have to be like everybody else and shoot stuff and do stuff. Just me taking time to myself, taking time to my family, just reinvesting morely on the things that keep me going. And for me, it's family, and I hadn't really been seeing much of my family since the year started, because I've just been up and down and working so hard. But now that I had that time with family, I think was really cool to just reconnect again and realign myself, so that I come back stronger. That's what it was for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Space?
Yeah, kind of the same thing from both of Letabo and Zipo. This industry is very cutthroat, and it takes so much of your time. It will test you. So I think this lockdown really calmed a lot of things down. You start to think about yourself. You start caring about yourself, because sometimes we overwork our bodies, and you up at 3 a.m. and you out shooting at 4 or 5, and it's a 12-10 hour day, and then what? So we often forget that we need to take care of ourselves, and that's also a very important factor in entering this industry. But myself creatively, so I haven't mentioned this, and I was supposed to mention this. So I'm actually a product of AFTA, Joburg and Cape Town. And I'm currently a lecturer at AFTA, so I lecture cinematography as well. So I've been keeping busy with my students, like getting them to produce like remote films remotely. So the process is going well. It's kind of cool. And I've been working on like some shoot scripts for people who want to shoot films. There's a ton of stuff I'm busy with, so I just like to I don't like talking about all of it. It's just I'm fortunate enough to have stuff keep me busy. I'm also in the wedding industry, so I've had like a few weddings cancelled. So financially, like when things get cancelled, like it messes up with the cash flow. But it's not too bad. I would say that this lockdown has just taught many creatives how to be smart, how to save, and how to still have fun. Yes.
Cool. That's very cool. Yeah, congrats. I didn't realize you also lectured after. That's amazing. That's it's a nice thing to keep busy with. And it means that you are plugged into all those young people that, we really want to listen to this. And,
Yeah.
the people we want to push, especially makeup artists and hairstylists and art directors and production designers. This is for them specifically. And as DOPs and directors, you guys make those. That's your call. That's your call on who you bring onto your set and who you want to work with. A director that I work with often always said that you're only as strong as the weakest person in your team. So if your makeup artist is going to arrive with a single brush on set, that's your weakest person. Or if your stylist is going to arrive with a single safety pin, you're a little bit screwed, because often we keep things together with safety pins. So before I move on to my next point, I just want to, ask the question: do you guys have a core team that you always work with, and then you have a new suggestion for a stylist or a makeup artist? Are you reluctant to take that person on, or how do you guys feel about that? So sorry, two-part question. First part: do you have a team that's your core team that you love working with? And then second part: if you hadn't step in, how do you feel about that?
Question one is, I've recently joined a team. I was always like envious of people. Like, I would always be the one joining the teams, like when they need like a third assistant, second assistant, or elsewhere. But I finally found what you would call like your creative soulmates, your team.
Cool.
So yeah, I've been working with them for about a year. Yeah. As the girl I'm talking about, she's actually like my mentor. So I have already been getting my own jobs, but she gets bigger jobs and stuff like that, where she like would walk me through some stuff, give me advice on some stuff. Yeah. And sorry, what was your second question again?
So being that crew, that core crew, if another person comes in, so let's say your preferred, so there's more for Faze and Zibo, because as director and DOP, they essentially choose their crew, and they prefer working with the same crew. So it's if you're the outsider and you come in, or if you have an outsider that comes in, how do you feel about that? Do you trust them? Do you kind of give them the benefit of the doubt? Do you trust their show reel? Like, how do you feel about that new person coming in?
I guess because I've always been the new person, like I said, like I always give someone, I would want to treat people the way I want to be treated, so you do give people that opportunity, and like if you come around the second time or the third time, that means you were good, but yeah, so far so good. I've found my core team, and yeah. Yeah, and I'm part of many other teams, but just as an add-on, but I have my core team as well. Yeah. Cool.
Cool. I've got a team that I do trust. but I don't really mind working with people. I just keep in mind that everybody's different, and like some are going to be quiet, some are going to be crazy, some are rock stars, some really live the film life. So it's just more about being very accommodating and like having a high tolerance for different personalities. So yeah, I don't really mind working with anyone here. Super easy. Yeah.
From my side, well, I've got a team, but a production team, being Bicycle
Okay.
Films, the company that I'm with, you know.
Yes.
But when it comes to the rest of the crew, for me, how I wouldn't say I've got a set team because it all depends if who's right for that job. You know what I mean? It's for me that's how I see things, But I do have people that I say that I trust, but I'm also
Okay.
open to like giving an opportunity or giving a chance to somebody because I know what it's like not to be given that opportunity. But it's just putting that across. If let's say I've got somebody new coming on, I make it a point that number one, this person understands what it is that we're working towards, and also, you know, I try to get them a bit more relaxed than usual because I mean, when you're given that first chance, you're always so stiff and so serious. But now I think once somebody gets to be more relaxed, and understand that we are all humans working together, it becomes a bit better for me in that sense. So all in all, for me, it's just if the person is right for the job, then let's go. It's not that I would say I've got a set crew that I always run to, always go to. As much as yes, I do have people that I trust based on their work and you know what I mean, and the work that we've done together. But I'm always open to working with people.
So you guys are both much more pragmatic than your core team. You trust the right person for the right job. For example, you wouldn't use the same makeup artist that you used for Boys Have Feelings 2 that you would use on, say, a post-apocalyptic like war movie. You would potentially have somebody who's more appropriate. Okay, cool. I understand. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So last kind of question and thing I want to touch on is what are you guys doing post-COVID? What is the way forward post-COVID for you guys?
So I've been back to business as usual. Like we're starting to shoot. We just like we cover ourselves, we're just following the rules. But like things are back to normal for me. Is what I can say. Yeah, we're just following COVID protocols and we're just keeping it moving like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm also happy to say that finally I'm back at work. I'm shooting again. I'm on set again. I'm back. I'm back in touch with other creatives. That's what it is. Really, it's just picking up where we left off and just going from that and doing as much as we can. And I think, especially coming out of a time where you haven't really worked that much, I think what a sense that I've been getting from being in conversation with other creators is that we don't take our art or our talent for granted anymore. We've learned to value what it is that we do so much and to come back in a space where you meet up and you come across people who are just recharged and fired up is really, really amazing for me.
Great, yeah. Yeah, that's super true. Like your filmmaking, your spirit, your film spirit actually just recharges, and you'd be amazed at the results you put out creatively. Like in any department. But I think post COVID for me will just be a new way of working because I feel like the world is a weird place right now, especially with this pandemic. So I think it's really just gonna test a lot of businesses in every sector. However, during was it May or April? In April, we were supposed to start with principal photography for film that we were busy on, but unfortunately, we were put on a lockdown. So that was just like quite sad, but it's cool. I'm hoping to complete the project sometime. this year, if it does finish this year. But yeah, I just feel like post-COVID will be the time where every creative just sort of lets loose and creates, the best work possible, wherever they are in the world. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Great, thanks, guys. Does anybody want to add anything, that I didn't touch on that they just want to say before we move on to Q&A from our audience?
I don't know, Tiggs.
Well, I just say something. I hope I didn't. I hope I didn't scare anyone. I moved back because it was a choice. Like during COVID, you just realized that. Well, I realized, these are the things that work for me at the moment. So I didn't want to like scare anybody to say it's not possible. It's just that, I was away for 3 months, well, because of the lockdown, I couldn't travel back and stuff like that. That's why I decided to move back. And because of like season is only happening later on. So I hope I didn't scare anyone in thinking that, it was the end of the world for me.
Yeah. Well, speaking of season, don't you feel like season is sometimes a little bit like the end of the world? Because you get to the end of season and you're like, oh, now what? Now season's done and I must wait for the next one. So you sit on your bum for 4 months.
Fortunately for me, I have Johannesburg as a base. This is where I started, where Johannesburg from January to January next year, so I'm very, very lucky to bounce around, as much as I can. Yeah.
Deepa's the same. You're up here shooting, when I say up here, I mean Cape Town. You're in Cape Town shooting often. I mean, you're on a plane, more than I think any of us.
I think with me, how it works is that, so Bioscope Films has a Joburg office and the Cape Town office. Yeah. And like I find myself sometimes just hopping in between like the two cities most of the time. But I could say mostly, it's mostly from Joburg, really. But yeah.
Faye, did I leave anything out you want to add?
I'm cool. I'm cool.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna go to questions. Yes. Did anybody want to say anything? All good? Okay. First question is from Prudence Oratili. I think this is for everybody. She says, I'm a young female filmmaker in Kuruman and I'm struggling to get funding, and I also would love to get a mentor to teach or guide me to do right and group my production to be bigger. Because she's currently using YouTube and Facebook only to market talent around all of the Kuruman villages. So does anybody have any advice for Prudence?
Usually in every province in South Africa, there is something called a commerce chamber, or it has to do with industries within that province. So I think maybe if she tries to find a way to speak to the it's called the Chamber of Commerce. So if she can find the Chamber of Commerce on Northern Cape, because Kuruman is Northern Cape, I think maybe that could help, or just potentially look at which direction she'd like to go, or she wants to get funded privately by somebody who's interested in the project. I think for her, it's mainly just having the concept down in writing and being ready for whichever investor she sees fit, you know what I mean, to assist her. But is there anything else that she asked, or?
No, I think her question is, Kuruman, as far as I remember from when I was little, is a very tiny town. So she's probably in a space where she's potentially the only filmmaker. So, YouTube and Facebook are where she's putting herself, but you don't have big, production companies like Moonlight rolling through and going, cool, we need somebody to produce this. So I think it's also, a lot of it is space. I mean, both,
Yeah.
all three of you know, you've all been in Cape Town, you all come here for season, you all shoot here. Joburg is a lot more constant, but the small towns, you know, I don't think there's a very big film community, or I lie, there's a big film community, but I don't think the jobs are as constant in Durban as they are in Joburg and Cape Town. So it is unfortunately very much, you know, where you're based. And if you want to get in, you have to move. You've got to make that decision, pack up your things, you know, sleep on a friend's couch for a week if you need to. Unfortunately, that's the nature of creative work.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of self-sacrifice, and it's a lot of passion and drive and need and want, and, you know, sleeping on a mate's floor is like the least of your issues.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, so for me, Prudence, I would say that, you know, it has a good point. Check out your Chamber of Commerce in Kuruman, see what they say. Else, you know, look at what is unique about Kuruman, and if there's a big production that is shooting a Western, you know, maybe they want to come out there and shoot there, and, you know, that you do that surviving force. But in terms of mentorship and a writer to guide you, you know, you may want to look up after, look at what they provide in terms of short courses. City Varsity, they've got a campus in both Joburg and Cape Town, and even have a look on the Gauteng Film Commission website, see what you can find there. I don't know if we have any more questions. It doesn't look like it.
So,
here we go.
oh, yes.
Okay, so Stacey says, any advice for trying to get funding for a TV show competition project? Anyone?
Wants to take this one?
Okay, I'll take it. Funding is not my big thing. I don't think anything, you know, we do is funding specific. We, as a group of creatives sitting here, I think we all get approached by production companies and asked to work on projects. But, you know, if you've got a good script for a TV show, I would say take it to the Gauteng Film Commission, you know. Speak to the Film and Publication Board, see what they have to say, the National Film and Video Foundation. You know, all these people have government funding, and it's something that, you know, they will look at. If it's a good story and you've done the work and you put it in, you know, they'd be happy to give you funding. You know, outside funding, Netflix has a huge amount of money. I know that they want to get into Africa in a big way, especially South Africa. Chat to them. You know, also, as mentioned in the beginning, just have a look at the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture and Recreation Relief Fund. I said it earlier, I just want to reiterate it. It's available on gautengfilm.org.za. You know, if you guys need relief, go and check it out. The application for that closed on the 26th of June 2020. You know, just have a look at that. Maybe there's something there for you. Big Z, you got a shout out here from Ariel. She says hi and what's up?
What's up? Hello.
Any more questions? Not coming to thick and fast. That's actually, let's you know, take that question for funding and just go from there. If you guys were gonna start your own, I don't know, TV show, you've got something that you've written, where would you guys look for funding for that? Would you look privately? Would you look corporate?
I guess I would try. Do you want to go first, Faisal?
You can go ahead.
I would try privately and probably like NFVF or like ABC, or, you know, but I would try all avenues. Whoever, you know, if one door closes, the other one opens. Whoever like gives me that opportunity, I would take that if I was in that person's shoes.
I'm really on that one. The trouble, like, I wouldn't close off myself to say I'll just look at private. You know, I think I'd knock on every door. You know, if it means I have to bulldoze a door, we'll make a plan. You know, but yeah, I'll try. I would try every option, really. Are you guys still there?
We lost. Yeah, for a second I thought we'd lost you. Your mic, I think, dropped for a second. Are you guys all there? Can we hear everybody?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry, well, we missed the last bit of your sentence there. Deepo, what were you saying?
Oh, what I said was just in closing, saying that I wouldn't corner myself into saying I'd look into one space. I'd just explore as much as I can, really. If you really want to make something work, you'll explore every avenue that you can.
Cool. Deepo, where would you look for funding? Same sort of vibe?
Sorry, please say again.
Phase, what is your feeling on funding? If you had a passion project and you needed it funded because you felt the world needed to hear the story, where would you go with that story?
I think the destination of the project is obviously a big relevance to who you're gonna ask. So I mean, if it's a passion project, like a short film, I think that route you could probably go privately if you need a very small amount of money. But yeah, I know that our government does provide funding for films. We've got I think it's the DTI, got NFVF. There's so many of them that just want to help Black filmmakers especially. So there's also a fund called I think it's called the Black Filmmakers Fund for the DTI. So there are ways in which to get there. But like we said, the most important thing before you even think about asking anybody for money is to start somewhere. You need to have a show reel. You need to have shot something. You need to have, I wouldn't say you need to be famous. I just feel like you need to have started something in order for the next person to say, yes, I want to invest with you. But yeah, it's really dependent. If you want to go private, you can go everywhere. I mean, who's stopping you and what's stopping you? Just keep on knocking on doors,
Cool. Harry Powers come in and said, if anyone is looking for a sound person, location, mixer, boom swinger, sound designer, there's an email address here. She says, great content. Thank you very much, guys.
Sweet.
Osmink has a question. He says, what do you think the future of the industry is looking at the current threats and also at the new buzzword, fourth industrial revolution? Oh, that's a loaded one. There, Faisal, go. Yes, tell us.
Don't leave me. Don't leave me. Okay. So I have a bit of a thing going on. I've got a young let me how can I say this? I've just got a young I'm just trying to be
protege?
young. I'm just trying to be a bit young,
Okay.
But I feel, the fourth industrial revolution and the third industrial revolution are completely different things. I know some people are gonna probably kill me for saying this because people get them confused. The third industrial revolution has to do with technology, automation, cell phones, computers, televisions, and the fourth has to do with the world of work. So we've been through the third industrial revolution already. The fourth has to do with the next 10 years of the world. In the next 10 years, we might not find doctors working in hospitals. The next 10 years, we might not find a DOP, in the film industry holding a camera. Could be self-operated. So it has to do with the ever-changing world of work and the way in which industries change. So in the next 10 years, the arts industry, so creativity will be one of the most paid jobs in the next 10 years, just because it's in such high demand. So what's going to happen in the fourth industrial revolution? A lot is going to change. There'll be less jobs, but people will mostly just focus on working smarter. People will be, companies and people in general running their firms will be more focused on soft skills and employee wellness and making sure the employees are performing great, because It's a big thing in companies where the companies fail because employees don't perform. And if you get your employees to perform in any business, any industry, you actually get a better output in terms of. So look, people are going to say, yes, Faisal, but that sounds like HR. Yes, HR is very important when it comes to a company, because without HR, you can't function, you know. So I just feel like the fourth industrial revolution is going to change cinema for the good. I think it won't be a bad change. I feel like we need these soft skills. We need to direct our attention and creativity in other areas when it comes to our production companies. We need to find a new way of working, you know, use design thinking, use critical thinking, all those lovely stuff. And yeah, cool.
Okay, I just want to jump in here and just say, oh, hold on, I'm playing myself back to myself. Sorry. So the fourth industrial revolution is interesting because potentially you're going to bring in a lot of artificial intelligence. And the one thing artificial intelligence can't do is be creative, which is why I think you say that creativity is something that in the next 10 years is going to shoot through the roof in terms of earning power. So what's really cool about saying that is that, you know, people are emotional and robots are not, you know. So banking you can do without emotion, you know, trading, stock market you can do without emotion. You could even go so far as to say that there's certain parts of medicine you can do without emotion, and you would probably do better without emotion. But storytelling, if there's no emotion, it's not a story. It's just words on a page or pictures on a screen. So yeah, I think you're very right there. Sorry, you were about to say something and I totally interrupted you. Or
No, like you just said what like I wanted to say. You know, like the point that I wanted to put across is that's exactly what it is. You know, it's like you can do so many other things without emotion, and with creativity comes emotion. You know, and definitely in the next 10 years, no doubt, people will recognize what it is that we're doing for sure. We're here to stay, basically. What I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Cool. Did you want to add something? Let's have it.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, cool. We've got another question here. It says, a lot of times Black parents have a problem with their kids going into such industries because they feel like there is no future. What advice can you give to a parent watching? Advice on the kind of jobs they are, and also what do they pay like? Can one build a family and security with that paycheck?
Yes, one can build a family and security with the paycheck. Like, as I said, I am second generation. My mother put me through school with working in the industry. So, I mean, for me to get into the industry, it wasn't such a hard transition. Because it was possible with her, you know, but yeah, I think parents should be open to giving their children opportunities, you know, and not just like wanting them to become doctors or, you know, scientists or like whatever, a lawyer. Just give your children that opportunity. And then if they decide it's not for them, then it's not for them, you know. But yeah, I just think just giving someone the opportunity to become something that they want to, rather than them like later on in life regretting and wishing that they became, you know, a creative. Because it's also like, I think you can tell me if I'm wrong. It's a bit difficult to start in the industry once you're like older, you know, because like you've missed out on a lot.
Well, there's a difference between, I mean, I think I have about 10 years experience on you, and there's a difference between what I know and what you know. And if I was to start in the industry now with everything I know right now, it would be a very different start to where you started. Yes, I'd still start at the bottom. Yes, I'd still start with, you know, doing that shoot for free, doing that commercial without payment, and because I'm hungry and I want to learn. But I have a wealth of knowledge that backs me up that you don't, because you're very young, not you specifically, but a person. So I'm only going to disagree with you on that point, and I will say that I think that at any age you can join any industry, you know, especially this industry, because people don't go, okay, well, send me your university degree, please. You know,
Sure.
that's not the first thing they ask for. They ask for your show reel, and that's something you can do with, as Faisal said, a cell phone and, you know, some really cool creative ideas.
I agree with you.
People, what do you want to say to the young kids out there who want to head in this direction versus lawyer, doctor, architect, you know, the boring things?
Sorry, I can't hear you clearly there. I think.
Oh, shoot. Okay. I just wanted your weigh in on that question, and, you know, what you could say to Black parents with their kids wanting to go into creative industry versus traditional industries.
I think so. When it's, my view is solely based off of how it worked out for me on my side as well. You know, so my mom was a teacher, and my dad was like in the taxi industry. Me being first generation, saying, you know, I want to do film was kind of a bit of weird and a shock for them. But I think I was more privileged in the sense that they understood what I want to do, you know, and they allowed me to work towards that. So to the parents, I would say they can take a deep breath and actually calm down, because so many people have been doing it, you know, just like I was saying, he's like second generation, and you can live with working in our industry. You can survive, and I think that for the parents, they should just, you know, allow their child to tell stories, because you'd be shocked when it comes to what you can achieve with telling stories. You know, it might not be as, in other people's eyes, it might not come across as important as being a cop or being a nurse, but actually it is important being a filmmaker, being an artist. You know, you save lives through art. You know, you teach through art. You do so much through art. So I would say to the parents, let's not throw away the value of art in life. You know, there's so much to it, and they could just allow themselves to understand it more. You know, I think that would put a lot of things into greater way. So they should just be more understanding towards art and allow their children or child to teach them more about the art.
Okay, Zibo, we're going to come back to you because I think your sound, for some reason, your network's dropped. We're just losing you a bit. Faze, do you want to weigh in on this and young kids?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's very important that your parents understand the industry and not. Let me put it to you like this. Throughout your life as a filmmaker, like for whatever project you want to do, you're going to be telling them, you're going to be selling your investor a concept, you know, you're going to be pitching, you're going to be, so you need to do the same with your family, you know, you need to tell them, hey, this is what it's about, this is what I like about it, this is what I can do with my life, you know, you need to sell it to your parents a bit better. I know I had to convince my family. They were like, he wants to be in the arts, he wants to do this and this and that. But I've always known where I wanted to be from a very young age, and I don't think it was a problem, because I've always had like music around me. I was always busy with something creative, and I think it just became second nature to a point where they weren't even surprised that I'm actually going to film school. So I think it's all about how serious you are and how you make your family understand. Long term, you definitely can make a living out of it. It depends which side of the industry you want to be in. Do you want to be seen, or do you want to be behind the scenes? So all of us in this webinar right now are actually behind the scenes, and behind the scenes you get to see a lot of what happens. You get to see the preparations. You get to work with something called a producer or your EP, executive producer. And you just get to learn all the roles. You understand what it's like, being on set. And just by learning and being involved and having people that you can talk to just to get advice, will help you. And there's this stigma that happens. I don't know if it's just South Africa, but we only start when we are done with school. And I think as a child, no matter what you want to pursue, I think you need to start doing it while you're in high school. If you really love it, or maybe you started picking up a camera, like in grade 6 or whatever it is. Sometimes we forget our passions and then we let them die out. So the arts and entertainment industry is profitable. I know the South African wedding and events industry is worth 20 billion rand. So at the end of the day, your parents are always going to look at the numbers. So the numbers don't lie. It's all about how serious you are when it comes to pursuing this.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Sorry, we've lost Zipo. I think he had a phone call from him. He's trying to get back in. So
Okay.
I've asked us to get him back in. So we've got 2 more questions. The one is from Lala. Lala asks, I'm based in Midrand, Carlswold. I'm currently 19 in post-production for 2 documentaries. Is there any film mentorship program specifically in the business side of film that you guys can recommend? Welcome back, Z. Thank you.
I think you can repeat the question for Zipo to also understand what's going on, so that he just gets like up to speed with it.
Cool. Okay, Zipo, we've got a question here from Lala. She says, I'm based in Midrand, Carlswold. I'm currently 19 in post-production for 2 documentaries. Is there any film mentorship program specifically on the business side of film that you can recommend?
Sure.
Yeah, this is more of an executive producer kind of question, and
Yeah.
Yeah. I would, Lara, we are more on the creative side, but I'm going to say, get hold of the Gauteng Film Commission. What I can do is I can see if I can find out some of that information for you from one of our program sponsors, so Gauteng Film Commission, the National Film and Video Foundation. But maybe Faisal has some insight there from an after point of view.
Would this be on the business side? So she wants to know the business side of things. I think if you really want to do it, just try and shadow a producer in a production company that you like. Look for a production company that has, like a personality, or like a production company where you think you'd fit, well. Then just say you want to be the producer's assistant. You can start running. I mean, you have to start somewhere, but you don't have to start running or being a runner exactly. But just shadow a producer, because they usually put the whole logistical blueprint together for productions and all of that. So it's best to stick to the producer if you want to know the business side.
Cool, good advice. I've just got some info here. So you can check out the NFVF's Facebook page as well as the GFC Facebook page. There's an intro there with a lecture series to the business side of things. So producer, production, line producer, executive producer, that kind of thing. So Lala, check those out. I'm sure that we can post those up there for you as well. And then we have another question here that's just asking for some rates. And look, we all like to keep our rates very close to our chest. I know I do. I'm sure you all do. We all have agents. We all work with production companies. That rate's different to the rate you may mention here. But what I will say is that how do you measure yourself? How do you justify what you charge? So, I get a phone call. I go, cool, my fee is 10,000 Rand a day, and that's for an 8-hour production. How do I justify that? So just from your guys' side, how would you justify your rate? Don't give me your rate if you're not comfortable with that, but tell me how you would justify that. You've been in the industry X amount. How do you get there?
So, speaking for myself, there is an industry rate, like that, whatever it is, like if they can't give me more, then there's like a certain number they can't go below. So that's how I go about it.
Okay, cool. Zipo, I saw you having a good laugh there. How do you justify your rates? I think you're on mute, darling.
Oh, sorry. The rates conversation. It's a funny one because, like you said, we all hold our rates close to our hearts, and sometimes for me, I think it's not only just how you value yourself as a creative, but also, you need to be realistic with how you rate, like from the X amount of years that you've worked or the kind of work that you do. I think those things for me are things that you need to put into consideration, but also be realistic. Don't just like ask for a 50K rate a day, got zero on your show reel. I think it's just being realistic to what it is that you do.
Cool. Faisal, yours is a bit more professional because you're coming from a school background there. So tell us, how you approach a rate card.
So I honestly think it's based off of your experience. There's many ways to offer rates. You can have a day rate. Some people charge hourly. Some people, there's a bunch of like technicalities behind the way they have their pricing and all of that. I think some directors or DOPs even go as far as, do I get involved in the pre-production phase, or do I only come to set to direct or whatever it is? Because usually some production companies would want to pay and say, yo, okay, cool, you're going to be involved in the pre-production phase, because people are paying for your time, essentially. Filmmaking is about time. You're planning towards a specific time, and if that time and date work, great. If it doesn't work, then you failed your task. So also it just depends on how flexible you are. If you're willing to go low, it honestly just depends. I know some people don't step out of the house for X amount of money. Some people are like, nah, that's too low, or whatever it is, which is great. But they've worked their way there. They've worked their way to saying no to money. But when you're starting out, I think you need to just do it based off of how much experience you have.
I found a local Cape Town agency. I just want to, because there's a few questions about rate cards. I just want to give you guys, just so you know. So as a costume designer, your minimum you can ask per day is $2,500. The max you can ask is 5,500. So that would range from a beginner all the way through to something very experienced. And then you look at something like a weekly 6-day rate. A minimum you're looking at 24,000. Minimum is 9,500 rand a month, a week for a 6-day week, and then your max is 24,000 rand a week. So then if you look at a makeup artist, because we're focusing on those creatives in this series. Oh gosh, I've lost it now. Just give me a sec. I can give you the DOP rates as well. It's also a minimum of 4.5 a day, going up to 11,000 rand a day. Those are day rates. It's good money. It's really good money. Director doesn't seem to be on here. Zipo, you're worth millions. You're not on my list. I just want to find a makeup artist so that, here we go. So makeup artist, you can do hair. Your minimum you can charge a day is 2,000 rand, and your max is 4,500 rand a day. And then hairdressers, same price. I just want to see if I can find,
There's crew.
Pardon?
On Caller Crew, there's I think there's rates for directors and writers as well.
Okay, so directors are a breed unto themselves. You guys have a very small niche little group of people, and also belong to a lot of the very niche agencies. So those are a bit different. And there's a whole bunch of questions that have come up. So Vusi has asked here, how do we get in contact with production companies to shadow for them?
You can email them. I think that's the best way, is to just like email. Well, you Google the production company you'd like to work for, and then you send that email through. And usually on those pages, they have emails available for like different positions. Like so yeah, you can email.
Cool. Anybody else got any? How do you with Biscope, Zipo? How does Biscope, if they get somebody calls, how do they deal with that?
I mean, we always open to like having new talent on set, because I think giving people that chance is really, really important, and also teaching as much as you can is quite important. So I mean, we usually just get calls into the office. If not, like on our website, there's like email addresses from our production manager. A lot of people usually get in touch with our production manager, Naledi, and we take it from there.
Cool.
But yeah.
We're going to jump back a bit. There's a question here that says, is going to school very important to jump into the industry, or can I just research via YouTube and Google and shadow people, then I'm in?
I think school is very important, just to learn about like the fundamentals, like the basics. School helps a lot.
No. Letabo, when I say school, sorry, as in going to AFDA or city varsity. So varsity, not so much school, but tertiary education in film. Do you think it's important and necessary?
That's what I meant. It is necessary. Like for example, schools, they teach you the basics. I'm not saying you have to finish it after, but like get some sort of like first year education from them, and then if you can intern, learn on the job, then yeah, sure, that's for you. But I always believe like you should school does like play a vital role in this industry.
Where did you go to school? Oh, sorry, I missed that part of your intro.
I went to Vega. Vega. Yeah. Studied advertising in Vega. So I mean, that's where I learned how to break down a brief and like use there's also things they teach you, like small things like being able to like do a mood board or understand like things like that. Like schools teach you that,
To add on to what you're saying, Letabo, for you to know where you're going, you need to know where you come from. And I think like what school does, or what it did for me, I got introduced to where cinema actually started, and you'd be surprised by how much referencing is done from stuff that has been done back in the day, and understanding that also equips you when you want to adapt certain things, and also equips you to understand things, and not only just from this current generation of filmmaking, but also where it came from, So I really agree with you with that. I think it is important to go through that, Also, at the exact same time, film school not teach you actual filmmaking, but it will equip you with different things that have been done before, and then also just like what Leta was saying, if you're able to like intern on a set, maybe, that's cool, because you'd find that on sets, you learn so much that you wouldn't necessarily get taught on like in film school, so I think having that balance between the two is very important.
Zipo, are you also an AFDA alumni?
No. No, I didn't do film at AFDA. I went to TUT, Tshwane University of Technology.
Ah, cool. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I did my time there, and then after some time, I did like a short course at the Academy of Television and Screen Arts, which is in Auckland Park in Johannesburg,
Yeah.
and did that for like a year, and then yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Faisal, you're a total film school alumni, so you know this question you would know, like how important is this?
Yeah. I think the process of actually attending film school or any course that has to do with filmmaking is very important to whichever like discipline or department you want to go into. I think mainly just because there's certain things that you learn, and it kind of, like, to be honest with you, it gives you an advantage over someone, for instance, who is self-taught, because sometimes we do make the mistake of teaching ourselves stuff, and it could not be right, but it does give you like an extra boost in terms of knowing certain things, you know what I mean, knowing more, knowing set protocols, you know what I mean, like simple things like what to wear when you're on set, like safety. But the course I did at after was very um, very eye-opening, insightful, because I did a lot of work on camera. Like, we get to learn about electrical safety, calculating wattage, all of those things, which at the time when you're a student, you don't realize how important it is. You're just like, ah, it's just another lecture. But when you do get to a set, and your DOP or your gaffer says to yo, can you just go and look at that box for me? And you don't know how to calculate your amps, and then you find out you blow an ARRI M18 light, and then who has to pay for it? Production. So I think there are certain things that film school does teach you. I just feel like once you step into the real world, you are prepared. But always remember that sometimes you need to be willing to unlearn stuff that you've learned before, to learn how to do stuff a certain way with the people you're working with. Yeah.
So from somebody who's on the other side, who's produced a bunch of films with young creatives, the one thing I will say, that when you leave film school and you walk onto a set, realize that you are the very bottom of that food chain, because there is major hierarchy within a film set and within the industry. And unfortunately, if you believe that because you went after, or because you did a film course, in London or something like that,
Yeah.
you are unfortunately at the bottom of the food chain. No amount of schooling is going to put you at the top of that food chain. I think the only way you're at the top of that food chain is if your mom or your dad is Harvey Weinstein, well, not anymore, but or Tarantino. That's the only way you're going to be at the top of that food chain. So just always, as a young up and coming, remember when you get onto a film set that the people who are there have paid their dues. They've paid them hard, and just be respectful of that. Just be mindful of that as well. We've got another question here. We've got a couple. So, and then I think we're going to close it off. So Harry asks, where can we apply for assist jobs? He or she is a year 2 film student at AFTA. So we spoke about this earlier. Get in touch with your local production companies. Maybe what we'll do is we'll get Gauteng Film Commission to put together a list of production companies who are currently looking for assist jobs. Maybe we'll get in touch with them and ask them to do something like that. Anybody else? Any suggestions?
Also, depending on like what you want to specialize in, let's just say, for instance, styling is, I followed all the stylists before I even got to work with them, just familiarize myself with their work and, just watching what they do and stuff like that. And actually my story is the person that I'm styling at the moment, I had DM'd her and she didn't respond. She actually prefers, it's more professional to email, so that and yeah, actually ours was organic. It happened. I saw her. I told her I'm a really big fan, I've been following her work for quite some time. And if she has something, could she just give me a chance? You know, she had my portfolio, and actually she did need help this one day. We did it. We had fun on set. Yeah, and then we've been working together for over a year now. So that's how it worked for me. Yeah.
And then we've got a three-part question from Henry. Henry asks, okay, and how, I think this is for you and me specifically, Letaba, because it's a styling question. How are they keeping abreast with changes in fashion or film, fashion for film and television? That's question one. Question two is, and they're willing to work with aspiring fashion designers from the townships. And then three, from their personal capacity, what is it that they are doing to share their skills with previously disadvantaged individuals?
Sorry, please repeat, like, who is this person speaking about?
So no, so Henry is asking in general. So the first question is, how are you keeping abreast with changes in fashion for film and television? So that's the first question. How do you stay on top of, you know, what's happening in terms of film, fashion in film and television?
So like I said, I'm a very big fan of following the work of people who I aspire to be like. You know, I keep up with the latest trends, like like anything that just I educate myself with what's happening around me, you know, within the industry and outside the industry, you know, like your latest trends, because we get briefs for different things, you know. It could be something that I don't know which example to make, but you know, it's like real life stuff, and you get like fantasy stuff, you get, you know, your hype B stuff, you get, you know, just depending on like your target market for that certain product or film ad or commercial, you know. And he said something about.
And then, so it's a three-part question. So question two is, are you willing to work with aspiring fashion designers from the townships?
100%, 100%. Always, you know, sometimes they have the better pieces, you know, for what we're looking for. Any fashion designer, you know, established and non-established fashion designers, I'm always willing to work with them. It's never a thing of who you are, you know.
It's more the quality of what you're able to produce, you know, whether you've got the name of Dolce & Gabbana behind it or, you know, Joe Soap, you know, somewhere in Vereniging. And then third, yes, sorry.
Sorry to interrupt you. So luckily for upcoming fashion designers and stuff like that, you know, like on your local shows, that's where you get to shine, because, you know, for like, well, SABC, you can't show branding, you know, but if it's an upcoming person, you get that opportunity to have your clothes there, because they don't use your Dolce & Gabbanas, your Nikes and all of that on those type of shows. So yeah. So I'm always looking for upcoming fashion designers.
Cool. And then third question is, in your personal capacity, what is it that you're doing to share your skill with a previously disadvantaged individual? So for example, would you take on a assistant from a previously disadvantaged background, you know, if they were hungry and wanted to be a stylist, same as a director, same as a DOP?
Yes, I would. I've done that before. Sometimes I'm on two jobs, you know, where and disadvantaged. I wouldn't necessarily, I'll be honest, not like someone that comes from the township, but disadvantage is also like someone who's trying to get into the industry, right? So
well, this particular question is previously disadvantaged, somebody who didn't have the money to go to Vega or AFTA or CPUT or, you know, a tech or a tertiary education, but is very hungry and wants to get into the industry. That's how I understand the question. I very much stand under correction, but for me, that's something that is something that a lot of people do in this industry. They will take you on if you are hungry, regardless of whether you've studied or not. If you want, they will give you the platform and they will allow you in. That's been my experience. Faze, how have you experienced it?
I think it's not about where you're from. It doesn't matter if you are from a township, from a mansion, some rich neighborhood. I think it's all about your willingness. If you're really hungry and you want to just stick by my side and be my conjoined twin for the next year or two, then I'll definitely be willing to just help you out and have you shadow me or whatever it is. But I think help necessarily, I kind of get what Letabo was saying, what he meant by like the previously disadvantaged or disadvantaged. I'm from a previously disadvantaged place, and I work with a lot of guys from where I'm from, but they're also in the industry. So I would say for those who need mentorship and help, yes, I would work with you. I would pick you. I wouldn't say no, because who says no to somebody who just wants to help and not ask you for money? Because you need to remember, when you give your help, you're not allowed to say, yo man, but things are costing me. You need to be hungry. We all did this thing of helping someone without getting money. So you need to realize that, hey, let me swallow my pride. At least I'll have petrol, or at least I'm eating on set. At least they're getting me there. At least they're looking after me. So just go with that in mind, because a lot of us have the expectation that because we're assisting people in a company, I'm going to earn a salary in the next 2 months. Doesn't work like that. It's the real world. So yeah, definitely I love working with people who don't have access to the resources we have. I love helping or discovering new talent. I'm actually working with a designer from the Val on a fashion film, working with a few designers from Soweto. So yeah, there's just so many fresh talent out there, for whether you're a designer or writer, we all dream big. And I think the best thing is for you to get somebody who's willing to take you on.
Dipo, do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I mean, the guys have just said it all, man. You just, if you stay hungry, and from my side as well, I'm always open to working with different people from different places, especially because you find that you learn so much, from these different people who come from different spaces. So yeah, it's just pushing really hard, and up until you get to where you want to, just put everything aside and just focus on that goal, really. Like Faze was saying, it's not, don't think that you're gonna get paid that 50K a day kind of a thing, or that you're gonna get paid the next day. Sometimes you need to understand that you have to do what you have to do for you to get to where you want to be.
Cool. So I think we're almost out of time. So I just want to thank our sponsors again, the Gauteng Film Commission, the National Film and Video Foundation, the Film and Publication Board, as well as the Department of Sport, Art, Culture and Recreation. And guys out there listening, the Department of Sport, Art, Culture and Recreation has put together a relief fund, a COVID relief fund. Please make sure that you get your applications in. They close on the 26th of June. It's at gautengfilm.org.za. Check it out. If you need that relief, go there. There is a new relief fund. Make sure that you fill in all the details. And also keep an eye on the NFVF's Facebook page, as well as the Gauteng Film Commission Facebook page for classes, masterclasses. I know there's a bunch of extra masterclasses on this channel that are going up. Some are about production, some are about creatives like us. feel free to get in touch with all of us. Our names are all on the flyer. They're online. It's been a pleasure chatting to all of you. Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Letabo. Lovely to meet you. I'm sure, somewhere along the line, maybe we'll work together. It'd be nice to work with you. Faze, lovely to see you. Long time no see. And Zipo, I'm excited to see what you do next.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Nice meeting you, Zipo, Letabo.
Wise, Faze.
Gauteng province has created a relief for the benefit of individuals within the sports and arts sector. This is out of the realization that sports and arts continue to be one of the sectors that is hardest hit by the COVID pandemic. And in this regard, as a caring government, we have found means of how we can create some form of relief for individuals within the sectors, but also possible job opportunities. And in this regard, one of the things that we have done with all the national events or national day events that we do have, we've made them virtual and are still able to employ and work with various artists and sports individuals. And this has been done from our Human Rights Day, our Freedom Day, and now with Youth Month. We continue to integrate artists and sports individuals within, so that whilst COVID does not allow for major events to take place, by going virtual, it enables us to still be able to utilize these skills and showcase the talent that the province has. With regard to the Gauteng Relief Fund that is created for individuals within the sports and arts sectors, this is a relief fund of 28 million, which we seek to find individuals who work within our communities. These may be individuals who teach art classes within communities, who coach soccer teams within communities, netball teams and so forth across the various sporting codes. These are the individuals who play a critical role in the development of our communities. These are people who ensure that our communities keep fit and, more importantly, are engaged within positive recreational activities. Our fund is geared at all these people, and all we ask is that you come and apply, visit our website, visit our social media pages at Gauteng SACR, that's at Gauteng SACR, and you'll be able to get more information. We really want to make sure that we assist these individuals because we appreciate the work that they do in our communities, because it is in line with what government seeks to do, and we want to make sure that people continue being engaged within positive activities such as recreation, within arts, within our sports, and so forth. So please do apply. This fund is for you.
Films, games, and publications may contain numerous kinds of content, of which some can offend or be downright unsuitable for certain age groups. This is where we come in. The Film and Publication Board, or FPB for short, exists to help regulate what content you or your child gets exposed to. Along with the help from the public and cooperation from distributors, we set out to ensure that anyone and everyone can make informed decisions when deciding on what to watch, play, or read. Now, please sit back, relax, and allow me to quickly show you how we can achieve these goals and elaborate as to what we actually stand for. First and foremost, concerning our mandate and function, the FPB has 3 objectives. Namely, number 1, to provide consumer advice to enable adults to make informed viewing, reading, and gaming choices, both for themselves and for the children in their care. Number 2, to protect children from exposure to disturbing and harmful materials and from premature exposure to adult experiences. And number 3, to make the use of children in and the exposure of children to pornography punishable. We fulfill our mandate through the classification of films, games, and certain publications, registration of distributors and exhibitors, and the determination of exemption applications. To clarify, classification is the process of assigning age ratings and consumer advice to all films, games, and certain publications that are distributed or exhibited in South Africa. Even though the FPB and its partners do anything and everything in our power to protect children from harmful material, at the end of the day, it is a shared responsibility. Members